Welcome to Leadership Unleashed, the show that will explore the multifaceted world of leadership through insightful interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and practical advice from leaders throughout Westchester County and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester. Today's episode of Leadership Unleashed features a groundbreaking and inspiring leader and my good friend, Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard of Mount Vernon. In 2019, Mayor Patterson-Howard made history by becoming the first woman and the first Black woman elected mayor of Mount Vernon. A public health professional and lifelong advocate for equity, youth empowerment, and innovation, Mayor Patterson-Howard has led the city through transformative infrastructure investment, community building, and bold public-private partnerships. Her administration has secured over $350 million in funding and launched initiatives that are paving the way for a stronger and more resilient Mount Vernon. Before we dive in, we want to thank Westchester Medical Center, the premier sponsor of the Leadership Unleashed podcast. Mayor Shawyn, may I call you Mayor Shawyn for the rest of this podcast?
Absolutely.
Your administration, as we said, has brought in $350 million in funding for infrastructure and redevelopment projects. Can you share some of the initiatives that have been implemented to foster growth and how they've impacted the local economy? But before that, I want to congratulate you. You were just elected to a real important leadership position. This is Leadership Unleashed with the New York Conference of Mayors. So can you share the news with us?
Absolutely. Thank you. Just this past Thursday at the NYCOM conference, I was elected as second vice president for New York Conference of Mayors and Municipal Officials, and that's representing over 578 cities and villages throughout the state of New York, representing over 12 million residents, and making sure that local government stays strong and that home rule is in place and that we can represent our residents collectively with great policy and developments throughout the state.
So very, very, very important. So congratulations on that state leadership role. So what's happening in Mount Vernon in terms of infrastructure and redevelopment? So many exciting things.
Well, infrastructure was not my strong point when I came in. Definitely public health, youth development, some economic development, workforce. But when we came in, we found out that Mount Vernon's infrastructure was in great peril. Collapsing sewers, stormwater issues. Our clean water was great, so thank God for that. Our bridges, we had about 6 bridges that had been closed, some as long as 15 years, 6 out of 11 bridges crossing the Metro North. Our streets were in disrepair, a lot of challenges, even with some of the utility infrastructure in the city of Mount Vernon. And so that's where we had to focus getting started. We were trying to have economic development conversations insofar as bringing market rate housing, workforce housing, businesses into Mount Vernon. But the businesses said, we don't have millions of dollars to spend underground in infrastructure before we come above ground.
And you listened and you understood that.
I listened and I understood that. And while people would have wanted to see building above the ground, it was hard to get people to come. And so we focused on fixing the sewer infrastructure and the stormwater. We were able to secure over $173 million in funding for sewer and stormwater infrastructure, about $6 to $8 million for clean water, dealing with lead service lines. Partnered with the MTA to get about $132 million. Well, I'll say $127 million. I don't want to overstate it. In bridge work done, like I said,
is about the health of the community.
The health of the community.
It is another form of public health, is having strong infrastructure.
You can't build on a foundation that is crumbling.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
With our bridges closed, it was even a public health and public safety crisis.
Absolutely.
Ambulances, fire trucks, trucks, garbage trucks being able to get across the city, police cars being able to respond to emergencies and having to go blocks out of the way to cross over the Metro North rails.
So you're getting to, there's a lot of building going on in Mount Vernon.
Yes, we're really, really excited. We're going to have more and more cranes in the air. We have 2 projects right now, 115 McQuestion, which is workforce development, that is in the ground right now. We've been finishing approval on 42 Prospect Avenue, which is market rate right at Mount Vernon East, not just market rate, but luxury. So we have a combination of workforce as well as market rate and luxury housing coming to Mount Vernon. And I think really for the past 30 years, we've focused on affordable and some workforce, but now we're also focusing on market rate because we have assets as a transit-oriented development community that we want to focus on. We're 22 to 25 minutes away from Grand Central Station, 3 Metro North stations.
So that is a real asset. I want to talk about one particular project that's been so much a part of Mount Vernon's identity, and that's Memorial Field. Under your leadership, it's not only been revitalized, but is now proudly hosting the Westchester Soccer Club, whose inaugural season kicked off this year. How did this partnership come about, and what does it signify for the city's cultural and economic landscape?
So, we've said that Mount Vernon is the jewel of Westchester, and Memorial Field is the jewel of Mount Vernon. It is the crossroads of our community. It is a cultural and sports arena that we've had for many years that was closed. It's where I graduated from. It's where our Congressman Latimer graduated from. Michael Jackson was there. Commercials had been done there with the Jets and Coca-Cola. And so now we have the Westchester Soccer Club that is there, as well as the Westchester Exiles, which is a women's rugby team.
Oh, that's great. That's right.
We're bringing lacrosse. We're bringing professional frisbee. We have concerts and cultural events that are happening. I think we have burgers and bottles there this weekend.
Oh, how exciting.
So it's an economic development engine for the city of Mount Vernon, but it's also a place where sports and culture are happening. And it is one of the premier...
community comes together.
Where community comes together, and we're an asset not just for Mount Vernon, but for the region.
Yes, because people come into the community to see these wonderful, wonderful cultural and sports events. Yes. Now, your background in public health, I know, has shaped your leadership approach in city government. Can you talk a little bit about that, Mayor Shawyn?
Well, when you're working in public health and human services, you're dealing with challenges that are multi-sectoral. It's not just government, it's not just business, it's not just civic, but the issues are so huge and oftentimes long-standing that partnership is key. And the public health and the human service space, it's often under-resourced. So learning how to bring people to the table and find common ground and focus to move past lots of obstacles are key. And so my greatest skill over the past 30, 35 years of my career, I believe, has been being able to bring people together to identify a common challenge, even if we have major differences about how we're going to attack that issue, and helping people to understand what's in it for them so that they'll come to the table, they'll bring their resources, even in the face of differences, to work towards a common goal.
And that is your talent. That is why you are such an incredible leader, because you are able to bring people together from different sectors to achieve consensus. I want to talk a minute about affordable housing before we break. A major issue across many communities, and the Opal 115 project stands out as a key development in Mount Vernon. Can you tell us about your collaboration with developers, including 2 of the Business Council of Westchester's 2025 Hall of Fame honorees, Steve Horton of Grandview Consulting Group and Kenneth Plummer of Forward Thinkers Developers? How is this project how is this helping to meet the city's housing needs?
Well, it's
and NRP is in there too.
NRP, which is a national developer, partnering with 2 of our local business leaders, as you said, Grandview and Forward Thinkers. It's 315 units of housing, workforce housing. And so with people from incomes from $50,000 to $125,000, it's a good range.
Yep.
Will be able to live there. I believe that mixed income housing is important. You can't just build low income housing because then people don't have an opportunity to see what they could aspire to. And you're creating, potential blight in neighborhoods. And so not only is it going to be housing, but our youth bureau is going to be located there. They gave us more than an $8 million community benefit, and it will house our youth bureau where workforce development will happen, recreation, arts and entertainment, and there's also going to be a retail component, and it's a transit-oriented development. So we're excited about that.
It's incredible, and I've seen pictures of it. It's going to be gorgeous. Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard, this is a fascinating conversation so far, from historic revitalization efforts to economic development and sports partnerships in Mount Vernon, the great city of Mount Vernon. I'm Dr. Marsha Gordon from the Business Council of Westchester. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Leadership Unleashed on the BCW Podcast Network. We'll be right back.
A lot goes into planning a birthday. For my daughter Cameron, it started with a stem cell transplant to cure her sickle cell disease. Yes, cure. Westchester Medical Center Health Network uses every technology, technique, and talented specialist to conquer diseases that could otherwise rob a child of childhood, helping my daughter and thousands of others at Maria Ferreri Children's Hospital. Happy birthday, Cameron.
Happy birthday.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
We're back on the BCW Podcast Network. I'm Dr. Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester. You're listening to Leadership Unleashed, and we're continuing our inspiring conversation with Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard of Mount Vernon about the progress and promise of this great city. So, Mayor, Mount Vernon recently hosted a workshop on public-private partnerships in collaboration with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was there. It was fabulous. How do these partnerships benefit the city, and what insights were gained from hosting such a significant event?
So again, the workshop focused on P3s, specifically around infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about infrastructure, it's always not just hundreds of thousands, it's millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it's very hard for government to do that by themselves without investment from private partners. And so the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Wells Fargo, AIAI, HNTB, DASNY, Environmental Facilities Corporation, BCW,
they're all coming together.
ESD,
Yeah, we're all
coming,
there.
Veolia, different water infrastructure. People are coming together. And we talked about how to deal with transportation in our region, improving transportation, dealing with water infrastructure, which is huge in our region and around the country, school infrastructure, airports, and upgrading public buildings and public spaces. And so we can't do this by ourselves as government alone.
I want to thank you for bringing that to Mount Vernon and for inviting the Business Council of Westchester. I was so inspired by that conference and so very proud to see your leadership. You really brought great people around the table. And
20 of our
us.
other municipalities throughout Westchester County. So it's not just for Mount Vernon, it was for the region.
Well, that's why you're such a great leader, Mayor. And there's another initiative, Paving It Forward initiative, that has become a visible sign of change in Mount Vernon. Why was it important to focus on something as foundational as street repair? And how do you see it benefit the city's residents?
Yes, again, as part of economic development and quality of life, Mount Vernon has 101 roads, 101 miles of roads in the city of Mount Vernon. And we'd heard and experienced that, no major paving initiatives in 35 years. Now in 4 years, we've paved 35 miles of roads. Not just paved them, but we've milled them down, paved them from corner to corner, curb to curb, and we've redone the intersections, the ramps that lead from the sidewalks into the street.
Very important. That's very important for accessibility. For safety. Everything.
Complete Streets is an initiative that I was very committed to, making sure that mobility for our community, for cars, bikes, skateboards, scooters, and walking could happen in our community. And so paving those streets.
And maybe people with walkers,
wheelchairs,
yeah.
the rollators. And so that's been very important. Now we know that everyone will not be happy until their personal street is paved, but we are 1/3 way through the city. Something that has not happened in 35 years.
Congratulations, Mayor. I remember when you got elected, and I was before COVID hit, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. I was on the Economic Development Transition Committee. I had the honor of co-chairing that, and that was such a major issue. To be 1/3 through is incredible, an incredible success. And you have led Mount Vernon through massive challenges, as we said, COVID, climate change, aging infrastructure, political turbulence, and more. What have you learned from these challenges, and how has your leadership style evolved from them?
Well, I've learned how to be focused in the midst of great challenge and turmoil. Again, always reaching out to those around me, knowing and being able to admit what I know and what I don't know. There were days during COVID that I had more questions than answers. But what you do is you reach out to the experts. You create a team. You create an ecosystem of support. And you're honest. You're honest about what you're challenged with. You have courageous conversations. People are not looking for you to know everything, but they are looking for you to work with the community and with partners to find solutions. And that's what we've done through COVID, infrastructure, climate change. We're learning more than I could have ever imagined I would have to learn. And you've gone from what they say, unconscious incompetence, you don't know what you don't know, to having to be very intentional about how you're learning the things you need to take care of your community and take advantage of opportunities that are coming, not just responding to crisis.
And I think one of your strong points is keeping your community engaged and informed, especially when addressing difficult or complex issues. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that, why that's so important?
Absolutely. Well, during COVID, one of the things that we found is we had to use social media since we couldn't come together in person. But after that, we were able to go back into the community and have community conversations. So whether we're holding them in the council chambers or at the Dole Center, community centers, churches, and even in people's backyards and in intersections on tree-lined streets and in parks and playgrounds, we come together. And it's not an agenda, it's not a town hall, but it's here the questions, the complaints, the suggestions, and to answer questions of our community. We do not hide behind government offices, but we want to meet our people and our residents and our businesses where they are and have those very courageous conversations. And I think they appreciate that.
You know, I was part of one a few months ago when you were talking with the business community about plans for the future. And it was so inspiring. It was so exciting. And to see the range of businesses involved, from solo entrepreneurs to big developers, and everything in between, from manufacturers to service businesses. And you've got them all, and you involve them all. Finally, for this part, before we move on, community events. I know you're such a supporter of community events. They bring a vital role in bringing residents together. What are some of the events planned for this summer, and how do these gatherings contribute to community building and civic pride?
So we talk about our Summer of Safety, and we kick off our Summer of Safety throughout the year. And so everything from skating events to summer breeze concerts to movies in the park to activities at Hartley Park and all of our playgrounds, cookouts, conversations, places to bring people together for community cohesion to be built, making sure that everyone from our youth to our families and our seniors are engaged and provided with options, including employment training and summer jobs, all of those things.
So important. Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard, Mayor of Mount Vernon, such powerful insight. We will take one more short break, but when we return, we'll explore more about community engagement and your vision for Mount Vernon's future. Stay with us. This is Leadership Unleashed on the BCW Podcast Network.
This is the coming home you dream about.
But getting here was unimaginable.
At 25 weeks, I was hemorrhaging badly, losing amniotic fluid. Fortunately, I was taken to Westchester Medical Center, where they have the most advanced care in the Hudson Valley for high-risk pregnancies and premature babies. And because we were there, now we're here.
WMC Health. Advancing care here.
Welcome back to the BCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed, and we're continuing our conversation with Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard of Mount Vernon. I'm Dr. Marsha Gordon. I'm the President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester. Mayor, you talk so passionately about opportunities for young people in Mount Vernon, and I know the Mount Vernon Youth Bureau offers numerous programs for the city's youth. How do these initiatives support young people's development, and what successes have you seen from these programs?
Well, from after-school programs and summer camps, which are traditional, that's something we do. But we've also really invested in workforce development, life skills, opportunities for our young people, mental health initiatives. And two of the projects that I'm really excited about most recently is we had 22 young women graduate from the Empower Her medical program. We partnered with Montefiore Hospital.
Wonderful.
They went through 16 weeks of workforce development and engagement around medical health fields. We've been funded for a second round of that. Tomorrow I'll be at the Westchester County Airport for a large portion of the day, focusing on our aviation program.
Yes.
We have 4 young people who are working in the aviation field, and they flew a plane before they could drive a car.
I love that. How great is that? That is fabulous. That's thrilling. And I know Mount Vernon also welcomed a new school superintendent, which signals an important chapter for the city's education system. As mayor, how do you collaborate with the school district, and what are your hopes for this new leadership and how positively students will be impacted?
So it's amazing to see that Dr. Strickland has not been sworn in. He won't be sworn in until July 1st, but last night held his first community town hall meeting in Mount Vernon, and we had parents and teachers and community members come in to talk about his vision. 62% of our tax dollars go to the school district. Mm-hmm. And so as city leadership, we have to be engaged because it's one tax base. The success of our schools provides for a successful workforce in the future and a successful community. And so we're going to be working closely with Dr. Strickland and the incoming school board to make sure that our young people have wraparound services from during the day in school and in the community, and that we're sending them from the community back to school to be supported. The school district and the community have to be seamless. We oftentimes try and compartmentalize people, but people are holistic, and so we have to provide for their holistic needs, and that takes both city and school district working together.
Well, Mayor, you've certainly led with innovation, pragmatism, and a deep commitment to equity. How has that leadership approach positioned Mount Vernon for long-term growth and resilience? And also, what final advice do you have for aspiring leaders who are listening in?
Mount Vernon has to serve those who've traditionally lived there, those who we want to bring into our community. We want to make sure that we're focusing on both at the same time, and that we're not just investing in infrastructure, but we're investing in neighborhood development, and we're investing in the strength of our workforce in Mount Vernon. We want to be able to attract businesses. We want to be able to attract investment, and we want our residents to be prepared to take advantage of so many of the economic opportunities that are coming. And so with our Financial Empowerment Center, only the 40th in the country, we're looking to build generational wealth, dealing with traditional poverty issues, and like I said, preparing people for wealth building opportunities. And so, as I look to the future, what is some of the advice I'd give aspiring leaders? That you have to stay focused. You have to stay true to who you are. You have to remember what brought you to the office. And it has to be more than about just being reelected. It has to be about the transformation of your community, remembering the first promise that you made that got you elected in the first place. And yes, we have to build consensus, and there are times where we have to compromise, absolutely. But you can't compromise so much that you compromise your values and you compromise the future sustainability of your community for your own personal advancement. We have to stay focused.
Mayor Shawyn, I've known you a long time now, and I've watched your leadership grow. I couldn't have been more excited when you were elected mayor. And you are holding true to your values and your promise and your commitment. And I know it comes from your heart, and I know it comes from your head, and I know how much you care about your community. It shows the community is growing. Congratulations on your success. And boy, do I look forward to celebrating a lot more. We thank you for joining us today on Leadership Unleashed. Your leadership and vision and commitment to equity and innovation are truly shaping a brighter future for Mount Vernon and the region. And we want to thank again our sponsor, Westchester Medical Center, and to our listeners for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Leadership Unleashed.
Thank you for your partnership and support.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the BCW Podcast Network's expansive lineup of shows: Leadership Unleashed, What's Trending, Advocacy and Politics Unplugged, The Member Spotlight, and Nonprofit Voices of Impact. The Business Council of Westchester is the county's largest business membership organization focusing on economic development and advocacy. With over 1,100 members, it is our mission to work for the profitability of our members and the prosperity of the Westchester community. To learn more, go to thebcw.org.